In this video, I will be talking about Document 77 in the Human Record written by Andrea and Overfield. In this video, we will be diving into John of Plano Carpini's history of the Mongols, or as they call them, Tartars. In this day and age, the Mongols overran large portions of Eastern Europe, which was controlled by the Christians. The Latin West was almost forced to confront the Mongols in the East. Fortunately for the West, the Mongols withdrew back and didn't attack Western Europe. This was due in part to the death of the great Khan Ogaday. Without a Khan, a Mongolian leader, this put the Mongols in a tough spot. Tales of the atrocities convinced Western Europe that the Mongols were the devil's horsemen and the Antichrist, and that they foreshadowed the final days as told in the Bible. Pope Gregory IX, at this time, called for a holy crusade to stop the Mongols. His successor, Pope Innocent VI, also thought the same thing, but these were empty threats. They kept to themselves at home to reinforce their cities for their possible attack from the Mongols. They instead thought a diplomacy would be a better option. Pope Innocent VI and King Louis IX of France wrote up some legislature and sent them to the Mongols. The point of this was to discover the Mongols' intentions and to convert the Mongols to Christianity, and to hopefully get them to help in the Crusades in the West against Islam. These missions started in 1245 and lasted until 1255. The Mongols met them with much indifference. To the Mongols, the Pope in Western Europe had one option, and that was submission, as Gayuk the Great Khan described in his letter to Pope Innocent VI. In early 1245, the Pope sent out 3 separate missions to offer the Mongols basic instruction to convert to Christianity. They told the Mongols to cease the horrible desolation. The best thing and most successful thing that happened in this mission was not that they accomplished any of the things they set out to do, but was that they made the 3,000-mile trek to the new Great Khan court in Mongolia. Their leader in this trip was Franciscan friar John of Plano Carpini. He returned to the West in late 1247 and carried back Gayuk Khan's reply to the Pope's request. He also included a detailed narrative of his travels with a description of the Mongols' culture, battle tactics, their intentions to overthrow the world and reduce it to slavery, and ways to possibly defeat them. Friar John arrived around the same time that the shift in Mongol power was happening. The Great Khanate was vacant for almost 5 years until Ogaday's son took over through the machinations of his mother, Torjin. The rest of this video will be a summarized first-hand account of the journey to Mongolia from John of Plano Carpini. He described how his Mongol guides made him ride their horses very fast because they were told to ride with haste so they could arrive in time for the assembly, which had been set aside because of an election. They would travel from sunup to sundown, and as said before, they would ride their horses hard. They had a plentiful supply of horses, so there was no excuse to slow. Once they arrived, Gayuk gave them tents and provided them with everything they needed. John said that they were treated amazing. They occupied themselves for a few days, and then they were sent to his mother who was at the assembly. John was amazed by the assembly structure, saying it had large arches and could probably hold 2,000 men. Each day the leaders would wear a different color outfit. On day 1, they wore white clothing, day 2, red, day 3, blue clothing, and on day 4, the finest brocade. Anybody who approached too closely to the leaders was badly beaten. They waited outside while the leaders met inside the pavilion, and they believed an election was held. Once the meeting concluded, the leaders began to drink copious amounts of mare's milk. They urged everyone to drink with them, and they did until they felt sick because they weren't used to drinking it. Standing outside was the Duke Jaroslav of Sistel in Russia, a large mass of leaders of the Katains and Salangi, a few sons of the King of Georgia, and an ambassador of the Caliph of Baghdad. More than 4,000 people were there to celebrate and bring gifts to the leaders and offered themselves submission to them as well. Everyone was invited to drink, celebrate, and party. John said they were there for approximately 4 weeks, and the election finally took place. It was still not publicly announced yet. They called this assembly the Sira Orda. Leaving the assembly, he remarked how lovely the scenery was on the ride to the Golden Order Pavilion. Here, the winner of the election was to be installed on the throne, and they would have a big feast on the day of Our Lady's Assumption. Unfortunately, bad weather postponed the celebration until the next day. John describes the pavilion as being held up by big golden pillars, golden nails, and the ceiling was made of brocade and other types of cloth. The throne for the Khan was made out of carved ivory with many precious metals and gems on the throne. The material amazements never ceased. The next day, the feast took place, with all kinds of meats and food you could eat available. John spoke of the amazing gifts that were given: gold, silk, silver, furs, gems, as well as the crown that would be presented. Other gifts, such as large herds of camels, beautiful saddles, and side bags, were also given. Every time they entered any of the pavilions. They were given beer, wine, as well as their choice of meat. Overall, John was amazed by the treatment of everyone and the absolute beauty of the Mongolian way of life. It was a simple but a very elegant way of life. Question for the class. What does the Gayek's election and enthronement allow us to infer about the Mongol society in the mid-13th century?